Having created our project file based on our project template, we're now in a position to start entering tasks. We have a column called task name, and this is in a table called the entry table, and we simply type what we want to do in this particular project. I'm going to press the down arrow and I'm going to add 4 tasks. Now the interesting things to note when we've added these 4 tasks is the task mode column. The task mode column should default to auto schedule because of the fact that under file and under options and under schedule we set that all new tasks created should be auto scheduled. If the tasks are auto scheduled, they appear like this. If they're not auto scheduled, they appear as manually scheduled, which is a pin. If it's a pin, then it doesn't give you a start date and finish date and a duration. It expects you to manually fill in those details, and also the bar shows differently. So I definitely want these to be auto scheduled, and you can change them at any time as you've just seen. Now also the task names just appear in this column, and the duration for each of the tasks that I typed defaults to 1 day, and there's a question mark there. Now we don't type question marks, so that tells me that project determined that duration and defaulted it just to 1 day, and I need to confirm that, accept that, or change that at some point. It's also accepted the fact that we said we were starting on the 5th of June, but because it's a public holiday, it's saying that we're starting on the 6th of June. And each of those has a 1 day duration, and you can see here that my tasks show. Now, the idea now also is you can also adjust your column widths. You can drag a column width and make it wider. You can also double click the line between 2 column headings and best fit, so it's only as wide as it needs to be. Also be aware, as I mentioned in an earlier video, you can move this split, so you can see more or less things. Now the idea here is I want to add 4 more tasks, and they go under Paint House. So I place my cursor under Paint House. I'm sitting on landscape grounds basically, and I'm going to press the insert key on my keyboard 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could have gone to task. I could have gone to task over here, and I could have inserted a task that way, but it's so much longer. And I also could have right clicked and inserted a task as well, but that's too long for me also. I like the insert key. So now I'm going to put in my 4 tasks that I wanted to insert underneath Paint House. Now these 4 tasks I'm going to select by dragging from planning to doors, and they need to be indented under Paint House. Paint House is currently a task, and it actually needs to be a summary task. So it doesn't need to be blue, it needs to appear as a summary task. Let me show you. To indent these 4 tasks, select them, and on your task tab in the ribbon in the schedule group, you'll find a button that has a green arrow called indent task. Notice the shortcut key is Alt-Shift right arrow. I'm going to indent those tasks. What the effect of that is now Paint House has gone bold. It's got a little triangle in the front, and it now appears like a black staple on the Gantt chart. This is now technically a summary task. When you indent tasks, the task above inherently becomes a summary task. If I don't want Paint House to be a summary task and I don't want these indented, up here in my task tab in the ribbon, I hit the green arrow pointing to the left, which is the out-dent task. Notice the shortcut key is Alt-Shift left arrow. If I out-dent them, Paint House is no longer a summary task. If I indent them, Paint House is now a summary task. So that's the idea there. Now I'd like to insert some more tasks, and I would like to insert them under planning. So I'm going to click on walls, which is under planning. I'd like to insert 5 tasks, so I hit the insert key on my keyboard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I'm going to put Plan House Paint, select colors, order, acquire, paint, deliver equipment, oops, and the final cleanup. Now these tasks I'd like to indent under planning, so I highlight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I indent them with the green arrow pointing to the right. and now paint houses at first level or top level or level 1 summary task, and planning is a level 2 summary task. I don't like the height of this row, so I'm going to increase the width of the column, and then the row height adjusts, and then I'll double click between task name and duration to best fit the column. So everything's just fitting as tightly and as nicely as it can. Now I need to insert some more tasks. Under walls, so I click on trim, I need to put 3 tasks in. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to prep the walls. I'm going to paint the walls. And then I'm going to remove the plastic or tape. So think of all the tasks that you need and just insert them. I can then select these 3 and indent them, and they come underneath walls. So the whole idea is, as you're working with Project, you may very well start to think of things that you need to insert, and you can easily insert tasks at any time. I'm also going to highlight these 3 rows, and I'm going to copy these. So you can hit the copy button. You could Control C, you could right click copy. But basically the idea is you can then click under trim and paste, either Control V or the paste button up here on the tasks tab in the ribbon, or you could have right clicked and paste. And I'm going to select these 3 rows because I don't need them now. Whoops, 1, 2, 3, and press the delete key. So that's how you delete rows. I'm going to edit prep walls to prep trim, and the idea here, or prep work I should say, is you can either, here's my 10-minute save, so I'll just go yes, you can either click up here in your entry bar and change it in there, or you can press F2, which is edit, and just make changes and remove. I like F2 only because I can type most days. I'm going to highlight these 3 tasks, and I'm going to indent them because they fall under trim. I'm then going to take a copy of them, so I'll go copy, I'll click underneath doors, and I'll paste. Unfortunately, I've overwritten. If that happens to you, just immediately go undo, and this is your undo button on your quick access toolbar. So click undo, and it's resolved it. If I then insert 3 rows and then go paste, it'll paste them into those 3 rows. So sometimes you can just paste, particularly if it's at the bottom of a task list, but sometimes you have to actually create a space for those things that you want to paste to go into so that they don't overwrite things like landscape grounds, build fence, and build shed. Okay, so we've got the prep work, we paint the doors and remove the tape. These 3 here get selected and get indented. And so I use the Alt-Shift right arrow rather than my mouse that time. So insert your task using the insert key. Delete your task by selecting the entire row and clicking delete on your keyboard. Edit by clicking up in the entry bar if you added that entry bar, and we added that in an earlier video by going to File, by going to Options, by going to Display, and by turning on entry bar. If you don't want the entry bar, then you may consider using F2, or you may consider double clicking and editing that way. Double clicking is quite slow, F2 is fast, and the entry bar is quite fast as well. You can adjust the column width simply by dragging, or you can best fit the column width by double clicking, just like Excel. You can adjust the row height by dragging down. You can also double click and adjust the row height to a best fit by double clicking. You can also change the font and font size if you wish. What I might do here is click above row 1, which selects the entire table called entry table, and I'm going to change the font maybe from Calibri to Arial, and from 11 to maybe 10. So you can do that sort of thing. You can even change font colors for the selected rows and so on and so forth. So you could select certain rows and change the font color, you can change the background color, you can format it in any way that you want. We can indent tasks simply by selecting them and hitting this indent button, and we can outdent them by hitting this indent button. When we indent tasks, we immediately create summary tasks, which is these bold tasks here. And summary tasks can easily be collapsed and expanded. The duration, the start and the end of a summary task is derived by the tasks underneath it, and we'll get into that in more detail, just keeping it light at this stage. So this technically is a summary task, and this technically has a blue bar, so this is a subtask. These are subtasks, this is a summary task. You can copy and paste as we saw, and you also have a spell check. For example, if I went to Project in the ribbon, I have the option Spelling to the right here, and if you need the spell checker regularly, I would possibly recommend you right-click the spell checker and add it to your quick access toolbar. Left-click. That means I can stay, say, on task, and if I need to do a spell check, I just hit this button here. So any button that you think I would like to add that to my quick access toolbar, let me just right-click and remove this. You simply go and find that button, right-click that button and add it to the quick access toolbar. And you've got all this space to add buttons to the quick access toolbar because we moved it below the ribbon. I'll run a spell check. It wants to put a hyphen with cleanup. I don't mind, so I'll change all of them. This is the name in task 7, so I'll change all, and it says that it's finished checking the spelling, so I'll click OK. So there's a spell check. Now there's also the ability to insert recurring tasks as well. To demonstrate this, I'll click on Planning, I'll go to the Task tab in my ribbon, and I want to hit the drop down on the Task button and choose the option Recurring Task. So notice you can insert a task, you can insert a blank row, both of those can be achieved with the Insert key, or you can insert a recurring task. When I go Recurring Task, it might be, for example, a weekly meeting. And this weekly meeting might go for, say, 2 hours. So I actually have to enter a duration of 2h, h being hours. It could be daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly. If it's weekly, it could be every 2 weeks, or every 3 weeks, or every week. It could occur perhaps on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but in this case a Thursday. And it might end after 10 weeks, so 10 occurrences. It's that sort of thing that you can do. And I'll click OK. Immediately, you can see the weekly meetings 1 to 10. You can see them also listed on the Gantt, and they tend to go across as well as downwards. If I hit the little triangle in front of weekly meeting, I'll collapse the weekly meetings, and there you can see them every Thursday for the life of the project. If I expand it, I can then see the dates of each of those meetings, and if necessary, I can change them. So if this one, the second meeting actually was to occur on a Friday, the 16th, I'd simply change it, and it would simply move to the 16th. If I moved it back to the 15th, it moves back. So there's your meetings. If I can't make this particular meeting, then I can select row 7, and I could delete it. And it would delete it and disappear off that particular week. There's a symbol in the indicator column. This is called the indicators column, and it provides very useful indications of what's going on. This symbol in the indicator column basically says that this task reoccurs every 10 times between the 5th of the 6th and the 10th of the 8th. So it uses the same sort of symbol that Outlook uses for a recurring appointment or a recurring task. So that's your indicator. These little things here, these are constraints. So this constraint tells me that this task has a start no earlier than the 8th of the 6th. So that's that Thursday. And this starts no earlier than the 15th of the 6th. So those are constraint indicators and a recurring indicator. So keep your indicator column showing if it's very, very useful. If I wish to get rid of the recurring task, I would simply select row 2. And when I delete row 2, everything that's indented underneath it will also be deleted. So be careful when you delete a task. If it's got subtasks underneath it, they will be deleted as well. You may have to outdent them before you delete it if you don't want to lose them. So I'm going to delete row 2, and weekly meeting just disappears and all the meetings go with it. So you can insert recurring tasks if necessary.